Hello and welcome. Let's have a little bit of music while I set up. Is music playing? Yes, it is playing. And let's go to Twitter. Daily NFT live stream. And post on Discord. Wow. Right. Okay. Cool. I think we're good to go. And so let me fade out the music and get gently started. Welcome to the daily NFT market health analysis with me, Daniel Tenner, aka Swombat, where we look at the data rather than the vibes of what's happening in the market, and we look at the data in perspective with charts and things that allow us to tell where things might be going, what sort of trends they're following, what it gives us a bit more of a perspective, I think, on what things what might happen, rather than just the sort of daily floor movements, which are nice and helpful and kind of exciting to see your project go up and down and so on, but they don't give us, I think, as much information about the market. So let's look right into it. Right now it's actually a very interesting time to look at these charts because the market is bad, but people are expecting it to go back up. So there's a really important question of, is it actually going back up? And right now, well, I mean, you know, it's hard to disagree with the data. I mean, it is always possible to disagree with anything, but the data is fairly clear there that there's been, you know, there was a little rebound yesterday, and now it's been a kind of more proper rise. A little rebound here in Zeneca Old as well, a slightly more marked rebound in Zeneca New, and even a very late little rebound in the women-led projects index. So that's nice. If we look at the bar charts, we can see that in the top 10 at least, it's nicely spread across multiple projects. In Zeneca Old, that little rebound is also like, you know, it's not a single project that's pumping. In Zeneca New, unfortunately, much of the size of the rebound, which looks so much higher than in Zeneca Old, is actually driven by a single project, which means it's not likely to be as sustained. I mean, we're not seeing it continue on that project. There was a little bit here, which I assume is the same project, but otherwise it's kind of gone back down. And women-led projects is also like multiple projects doing well-ish. So it's not that the Zeneca New one is the one that we need to trust the least because of the fact that it all comes from one project. If we look at the top 10 itself, as I shared in my thread and as I talked yesterday, so yesterday I said that I wanted to see, like I was hoping to see some kind of rebound because, you know, I don't like the idea that it's going to go like this, although I accepted the fact that maybe that's what is going to happen and that the data isn't really very positive at the moment. And if we look at where things are now, well, they're more positive than yesterday for sure. We've gone up here. It's definitely a rebound. We're almost touching towards the 30-day SMA. Maybe if we sort of start going up again, who knows? Maybe we're heading to, maybe this was the turnaround time when everybody said, okay, that's it, there's no bull. That wouldn't be necessarily a bad, or like that wouldn't be an unlikely signal, you know, when everybody says, oh, that's it, actually there's no bull coming, like, you know, everybody gives up and sells out. That's usually a good sign of a turnaround. So this could be a turnaround. But let's not get, as Ben Cohen likes to put it, let's not schedule our Forbes interviews yet. We are still, as kind of drew these lines better in the Twitter thread. But anyway, we're still in this channel. We haven't escaped it yet. It's still possible that it's just gonna sort of, or it might just go like this and then sort of come back down and then sort of oscillate like this. So we've not broken that trend at all yet. We're still in that kind of trend that started around March 15th, like mid-March. So don't bank on it yet. But that said, the fact is that, if we look at the bar charts, there is increased activity in the top 10. And the charts are telling us that. So whatever people are feeling, whether they know or not, that there's going to be a bull market or not, or so on, and nobody knows whether there's going to be a bull market. The fact is, we are seeing this rise. And it is positive. It is hopeful. So, that's the state of the top 10 at the moment. If we look at the Zeneca old data set, which, yes, I know I need to replace this with a more relevant data set, but it's what we have at the moment. So let's look at that. Here, it looks a lot less positive, but there's still a kind of little rise. I guess it's responding to the fact that maybe there's a turnaround. And it's interesting that there is this response and this increase in volume, and we're seeing this also in Zeneca New, by the way, although as we know, it's a little bit more misleading there because of the bar chart, because of the fact it relies on one project. Still, it's interesting we're seeing this response simultaneously, even though most people aren't looking at those charts as far as I know. So there's probably some kind of sense, because I think people only invest in Zeneca Old, and Zeneca New, like in those later lower tier projects, once they see the top 10 rising. And either people are watching the volumes in OpenSea, or they have other tools to watch the volumes, or maybe they're just sensing that there's some kind of turnaround going on. Either way, it seems that the reaction is fairly quick, as in it's not marked, and I don't think it's going to go up substantially until the top 10 gives a clearer signal. But just the fact that the top 10 is doing something that might be a little bit of a turnaround seems to be enough to cause Zeneca Old and Zeneca New to have a little bit of a rise, and even the Women-Led Projects Index as well. So if we look at that one, it's also got that little rise going, like in very short-term bounce, and a little bit late on the top 10, but nevertheless, it is there. So, there's not much else to say about these charts today. If we look at the crypto context, which is not the best context at the moment, we can see that, my sort of half-assed flag pattern there is still somehow looking relevant, although, of course, you could draw these lines in any way. In fact, this could be like a kind of rising channel now, and there's all sorts of different things. But this flag pattern looked relevant before. It still looks like it's sort of like there's resistance points around where I drew these lines, however inaccurate they were. But maybe it's better to delete these lines now, actually. And if we look at this without the lines, you see how, having lines here gives you a sense of things, of where things might go. And just deleting the lines is enough to change your perspective. So be very careful about the mental lines your mind grows, because they can really influence how you perceive things. So without the lines, it looks like it's going up. So it actually looks more bullish. With the lines, it looks like it tried to break out of the flag pattern and failed, and is collapsing back down, is about to go down. So, how you do the lines, how you draw the lines in your mind, including on these charts, ends up determining how you think things are going to go. So, I drew this line for quite a while, and it turned out not to have that much accuracy, as usually happens when you draw lines. And right now I'm drawing this line. It could be that I've started drawing this line, I think I started drawing this line around here. We were around here when I started saying, it looks like maybe there's a different channel going on. One thing I found is it often happens that it kind of does something 3 times, and then people start expecting the 4th time, so then the market behaves differently. So if we're lucky, it's done, one bounce here, one bounce here, one bounce here. That's our 3 times, and now we're going to go and do something else. I'd quite like that as an outcome. I don't know if that's going to happen. Obviously, I can't tell the future, but I've seen. If we look in this other direction, It did one peak here, one peak here, one peak here, and then it turned around. And in the other direction there, it's also done one peak here, one peak here, one peak here, with one trough here, one trough here, one trough here, and maybe it's turning around now. So yeah, I mean, you know, this is welcome to the daily NFT wild speculation. Anyway, so crypto is not doing great. Ethereum is kind of the same. Yeah, I mean, Ethereum is looking a little bit stronger than Bitcoin, I think. And I should really delete those lines, or at least redraw them somehow. It's like in a different way. Let's see if I redraw them in a more like. The thing is, so one thing that some of you may know, those who have done some kind of training in technical analysis, is to be valid. Ironically, since I just said about like the market does the thing 3 times and then it changes, to be valid, a line should have 3 touch points, and it's the wicks that count, not the bodies of the candles. So we can't actually draw any valid lines where we are now. I think I don't see a way to draw, like maybe this is probably the closest to a valid line that we've got there. Yeah, that's not too bad. So we've got an up line there that seems sort of reasonable. I don't think we have a line at the bottom. Like, you know, we could draw one here that touches 3 points if we just do some of the wicks but not all of them, but that's not actually a valid line according to technical analysis. So maybe this is the thing, maybe it's not, I don't know. If this is the channel, this is actually very, very positive towards for crypto. Although, you know, in the greater scheme of things, we still have a long way to go before. But you know, it's a possibly bullish pattern in crypto as well. I don't know. I'm not a crypto analyst. I know only just enough technical analysis to get me through the day. Yeah. So I feel like there's not as much to say today as there was yesterday. Or at least I had more to rant about yesterday. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. I feel like there'll be more to say, for example, once I have things like, I do have the relevance index updating, but you know, it's not meant to change day by day all the time, so it's not the most exciting thing to look at. Like the top 10 projects shouldn't change very often, and they don't. So here I have today's top 10 index. If I load up, this was yesterday, which I haven't refreshed since. So if I load it up and I sort of switch between the two, okay, you can see that Imposters, Genesis, Aliens has gone above World of Women, but it's a 16-day-old project, so it doesn't, it wouldn't be considered for the top 10 because the first month is always much more active. So there's not a lot of change in this index, and we wouldn't expect there to be a lot of change. If we scroll down a bit more, let's go to, and please do post questions if you have some, by the way. Otherwise, we'll finish this fairly soon, which is totally okay. So if we go here, we can see basically almost no change in this set. Just this MOAR by Joan Cornella, which is 6 days old, has overtaken Bapetaverse, what a name, which is 21 days old. So like a couple of more recent projects flipping each other. So there's not huge amounts of change, and there shouldn't be, because I don't think relevance changes day to day, especially if you ignore the ones in italics, the recent projects. You know, if a project has built a lot of relevance over a matter of many months or years, it's not going to just collapse overnight. And we're seeing, you know, our usual top 3. Bored Apes, Mutant Apes, and Azuki, followed by Clone X. All of those are actually going up. And then the first one that's going down month on month is CryptoPunks, as we've seen, which is still a long way away from being overtaken by Doodles. Like at plus 5,000 here. Well, I mean, it could take, if it continues to lose 15,000 a month, it could well take only a month or two to be overtaken by Doodles. Oops, this is the one for today. What does it say today? Oops, sorry, I'm scrolling the wrong way. Yeah. So it's losing, like, you know, well, less, or I guess there was a large loss a month ago, which, because it was 14,000 here and 9,000 now. Even if we take 9,000, if this loses 10,000 over the next month, it goes down to 40,000, and this gains 4,000, goes up to 35,000. So 2 months of that, and CryptoPunks is flipped by Doodles in terms of relevance. But that would assume that Yuga Labs is going to do nothing with CryptoPunks for the next 2 months, which may well be true, or maybe an unsafe assumption, because Yuga Labs seems to be, at the end of the day, the best team in the NFT space. Although it seems like Kazuki is going to give them a run for their money, which is good. We shouldn't have just one competitive team in the space. We should have more than one. And to be fair, Doodles is also a pretty solid project. And Wealth of Women. And all of them are rising. Only CryptoPunks among this top 10 is dropping month on month. The first, actually, if you go further, also NFT Wells and Cool Cats will eventually be flipped. Although the next project, if we scroll down, that's not less than 2 months old and that's rising, is actually very far down. It's Creeps Genesis. And that's at 9,000, rising by 500. It's a long way away from Cool Cats at 16,000, dropping by 1,000. So we shouldn't see a lot of change in the top 10. Only if something like World of Women Galaxy comes up and actually maintains relevance, then we'll see some kind of change. Yeah, it's more by Joan Cornella. Like, I don't even know what it is. It's sort of come out of nowhere over the last 6 days. I occasionally pick them up. I pick up new projects to add by looking at flips.finance and looking at the top 10 listed there. And if they're not in my list yet, I add them. I mean, what is it? An unusual mansion in the metaverse presented as a Fwen club. I mean, okay. Not sure why it's doing so well, but it is doing well. 8,000 ETH volume traded. Although we have the usual, well, you always get a kind of drop, but it's still maintaining volume a few days later. So, you know, it's a good sign. So it's maintaining its relevance at the moment. It's getting lots of trading activity. It had a big sale. It was notifying me with gas. Oh, they had a gas war and stuff. Yeah, I mean, whatever it is. I've said I don't do reviews live, but let me just have a look at their website. Like, let me take you through, actually, since we're only 18 minutes in. Let me take you through how I look at evaluate a project, and bearing in mind, but you have to promise me that you're not going to go and say, like, you know, Swombat said this project sucks or is really good or something just because of what I saw on the website, because like that's just a website review, and I would do a lot more in-depth review before forming a formal opinion on something. So I look at the website and I sort of scroll down a bit. I mean, first of all, I will be clicking on the roadmap very soon, but okay, auction finished, man with a gun. Okay, like the arts, I'm not super keen on the art, but it's okay. It's actually got a reasonably unique style, so that's a good thing. And when I'm reading this, I'm trying to find some kind of tangible, sustainable value that's going to make this worth owning for a customer rather than an investor. Because every one of those, you know, while it's going up and to the right, everyone wants to own them so that they can sell them to the next person. But I don't want to invest in, like, you know, I don't know if you've heard of the greater fool theory, which is a way that markets are driven very often, where the idea is that you buy stuff hoping to sell it to a greater fool. I don't want to buy into greater fool trades. I want to buy into trades where when I sell, it would be to a discerning buyer who's buying something of value that I happen to discern the value earlier than them. That's very different. So I look at this and I'm trying to read to find something that's of long-term value. All I get here is like art and vibe and stuff like that. There's no long-term value in this description. It's just talking about what the project is and like trying to give us a kind of vibe. There's a bunch of artwork. They have some distribution to the team. Okay, great. Okay, there's the roadmap. Mini game launch, community rewards, grand opening, virtual exhibition. So this, for me, is absolutely zero. There is nothing of value here. This is an empty roadmap. If you look at my roadmap thread, you'll see that all of this stuff is things that I discount as worthless. The reason being, I mean, that's the drop. That shouldn't even be on the roadmap. This is, you know, like it just shouldn't even be on a roadmap because it precedes any roadmap. Mini game launch for community. Well, okay, a game is really hard to do really well, and they want to launch a game in a month. I don't know, like, I'm not buying that as a value add for investors. People aren't going to spend, how much is this thing? $3,000 to $4,000 or more if the price keeps rising, to play a mini game. Like, nobody gives a shit about a mini game. It's a nice thing to get people excited, but it doesn't actually add any value to anybody's life. Like, name me a single person that you know who would pay $4,000 to play a mini game. None. Community rewards, that's just the usual, like, we're going to give stuff back to the community. We're great. If they include we're going to start a DAO or something, that makes it even worse. Like, you know, that's, we got a bunch of money. We don't know what to do with it. We have nothing productive to do with it. So we're going to give it back to you investors and use that as a way to sort of incentivize more buying. And the grand opening and virtual exhibition, I mean, that doesn't say very much there, but usually, like, you know, that's something that makes sense if you're already successful. It doesn't make you successful. It doesn't create value. It's like, if you have Bored Apes, that's already a cultural phenomenon, and you do an exhibition, that's interesting. But if you have a project that's unknown and collapsing after initial hype launch, and you do an exhibition, nobody gives a shit. So, I mean, maybe this Joan Cornella, I guess it's Spanish, is going to be is already a famous artist or something, but I've never heard of them. Although the art style does look somewhat familiar, so maybe that's why they're able to do this. So I think I've seen this kind of art style before. Raffle ticket airdrop to all holders. Again, that's just giving money back to the, like an airdrop again. Like, if your project is successful, like, you know, Basie before they did Macy, then you do an airdrop and stuff. That's or like Azuki recently with the airdrop, that works. But you can't make your project successful by doing an airdrop. If your project is sitting at 0.05 ETH of value and there's nothing worthwhile for people there, doing an airdrop is going to do nothing for your project. And it takes away, in fact, from your project. You do an airdrop when you're already successful to enable more people to jump into the project. Exclusive purchasing rights to Joan Cornella's physical and digital artworks. Well, that is a bit of value if people are into this person's artwork. Like, I don't know how famous he is. Maybe he's famous enough that people want to pay thousands of dollars to get access to buy more of his art. That seems a bit of a stretch, but it's possible. And yeah, so FAQ, useless FAQ. So when I look at an FAQ like this, I'm like, what? Like that's like, you have only so much time, so much space to communicate with your users. When you waste it on a question like this, you're telling me that you don't know what to put there and you're just filling in an FAQ because you know that you're supposed to have an FAQ. That does not communicate care and value to me. Yeah, like, you want to see that the website, I mean, the website is nicely designed, but you want to see also that the structure of the website has as much care on it as the rest. Like, how the NFTs are created. Yeah, like, you know, all this stuff is just useless stuff that everybody knows. And if you really wanted to have an intro, like, you know, for people who don't know anything about NFTs, you might just, you know, actually have an intro for people, like, you know, I don't know anything about NFTs, tell me more, rather than this FAQ. Like, the only possible useful question there is how much does it cost, and don't even fucking answer it. Okay, so bearing in mind that I know nothing about this project and I have not gone and researched it in detail, my sense from the website is, however nice the art might be, I would not touch this with a 10-foot pole. I don't see anything of long-term value here. Maybe it works as a kind of pure art release, but like, yeah, it's not. I mean, what is this? Like, They're showing us a picture of somebody looking at, what's the point of this? Like, I want to see in a website, like when I'm looking at the website of an NFT project, I want to see care like in the website. This to me feels kind of hacked together relatively quickly without that much care given to, you know, a kind of long-term perspective. Like, okay, we're building this long-term thing. We want to make sure we attract yeah, she's demonstrating the utility. So this is the utility of this project. If you think this is worth $4,000, then, you know, you can buy them. It's only 1.19 floor price. And I'm sure it's not collapsing at all, like, you know, based on this curve. Let's have a look at it in Mobi just to complete this like hatchet job, which feels really, again, very unfair. Oh, stupid thing. Oh, I'm not in, sorry, I need to open Brave for that, which I have open here. Let's put that here. So Mobi, and let's look at MOAR by Joan Cornella, and let's just look at the trading picture based on the charts. So I prefer the 7-day picture myself. So they had some kind of thing, then the reveal happened, massive dump after the reveal. So it was trading higher before the reveal than it has. And if we don't hide outliers but make it logarithmic, well, no, that doesn't help. So the better view is with hidden outliers. We can see, we could see before I clicked on the wrong button. There's been a massive dump after the reveal, but a lot of trading activity, people are buying and so on, buying and selling. And, you know, it's not all at floor price, so that's a good sign in terms of how people are engaged with the project. But again, like for me, I don't like the way I invest. I don't like to have to look at this. If I have to look at this to figure out whether to invest or not, then I'm not investing. What I want is stuff where where was the page where I had it open? When I look at this website, or at least when I talk to the founders and understand what utility they're trying to build and like what their vision is and understand why they've built this project and what's the point of it. And I want that when I get that, I feel like, yeah, it's a no-brainer to invest in that. That's when I invest. To use a kind of backwards example, with Llamaverse, I had just one gold pass for a while, and I watched it sort of go down in the dumps, but I knew that NFT Llama was a kind of solid founder, so I was kind of like waiting and like hanging in there and thinking like, yeah, okay, like, you know, maybe I spent almost 1 ETH on this pass and it will turn out to be worthless. It would drop all the way to 0.5 ETH. And then I was in conversation with NFT Llama and I noticed that he started listening and focusing. And I was like, okay, so somebody like that, with the team that he has around him, with the focus, with taking actual input from his community, like he's going to do well. So then I bought a few more there. And from that point on, I didn't need to look at, like, I rarely ever looked at the Mobi chart for NFT Llama because I didn't need to. Because like I knew that the project is going to deliver like in some way or another at some point. And now like these, like I bought 3. I wish I'd bought more. I really wish I'd bought more. But like I bought 3 and I convinced my wife to buy 2. And I bought 3 at 0.09 and my wife bought hers at I think 0.15 or something like that. They're now worth almost 5 ETH. And now I'm starting to like sell. I'll sell one. Like I sold one when the reveal happened, and I'll sell one more now, like to take some profit so I can invest in other projects. Like you can see I'm stacking up my Curious Addies there, like maybe you've glimpsed that, and Meta Angels and other projects like that I think are equally undervalued. But that's what I want to invest in, not stuff where I have to look at this chart and try and figure out, is it a good buy now and that sort of stuff. Like the ideal project for me is one that where I know the founders are solid, they're going to keep working at it, and they'll make it a success eventually, and I don't need to look at the charts. So for me, MOAR by Joan, whatever, etc., Joan Cornella is a definite no at this point, like without knowing more. I would want to talk more I would want to maybe join the Discord, which we don't have time for now. It's almost, it's half past now, but I would want to, like, if I joined the Discord and I talked to the artists and I understood that they have a vision there, like there's something that they want to build, I might consider buying it, although probably not at this price. But yeah, so you have, but even if it was at mint, whatever the hell the price was at mint, I wouldn't buy at that point. What do I think about NFT projects in general for coming weeks, considering we have Moonbird's Basie land coming up? Well, Moonbird's, I know of both Kevin Rose and Ryan Carlson. They're both really solid serial entrepreneurs. I believe they're very capable, and they'll probably like do a great job of whatever they do. That said, Moonbirds is super hyped, and in general, I don't like to invest in hype. Like, and it's super hyped in a very, very subtle way. I don't know if you listened to the Zeneca, the two Bored Apes interview with Kevin Rose and Ryan Carlson, but it was kind of funny how they were like, "Oh yeah, no, we don't want to do any hype," and then they followed that with like lots of hype, like about how proof is amazing and like all these kind of like, and how it's all oversubscribed, and they've had to do this raffle as a way to make sure that, you know, it's the fairest thing, and they've had to set the price at 2.5 because blah 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 blah, hype. I stay away from those projects. I probably miss out on a bunch of stuff that goes up, but I also miss out on a bunch of stuff that gets overhyped and then collapses. So I'm all right with that equation. So yeah, that's what I think about Moonbirds. Basie Land, I haven't really heard anything like enough about to have an opinion. I mean, Basie usually executes very well anything they do. So if it's cheap enough, I would probably buy some. But I didn't fill in the KYC thing, so I probably won't be allowed to buy any. I just kept delaying it, and then it was too late, and I probably won't be able to buy any of the land. Yeah, Kevin, you're exactly right. So like the way I look at it is there's like opportunity cost and loss cost is very, very, very different, in the sense that you can take an infinite amount of opportunity cost without, like, while still being able to play in the market. But you can only take so much actual losses before you have nothing left to play in the market. So I'm okay to take lots of opportunity cost to protect myself against the hard losses. And so I try to buy stuff where the losses are likely to be minimal. Like, yeah, I don't want to like shill my bags there. And it's also because I'm still buying it. But if you take like Curious Addies, it's been hovering between 0.1 and 0.2 for quite a while. I bought a bunch at 0.07. Again, I should have bought more at that time, but it wasn't as proven then. Like, it's now like hovered in between 0.1 and 0.2 for quite a while. I bought a few more, and I don't like, you know, they're committed founders. They have resource. They have networks. They're building, like, they're doing cool stuff. Like, they at some point, and then they're going to be in the Hug Accelerator as well and get connected to Randy Zuckerberg and stuff. I can't see this, you know, being a very risky play. Will it go to 100 ETH each? Definitely not. Might it go to 1-2 ETH each? Yeah, possibly. And I'll see where they land. And, you know, I can ignore them for the next, I'm still stacking them up now, but like I can ignore them for the next 6 months and see where they are in 6 months and sell a few then. And that will be my investment with those. Right, it's now 33 past, so I'm really going to call it a day. But thank you very much for dialing in. I hope you found, I mean, so Dickenza certainly enjoyed the live review. I just hesitate to do it because it's like, it feels like I just really dumped on this project without knowing very much about it. But so long as we can have an agreement between us that we're not going to spread this as the review for, like, you know, Swombat's review for this project, because I don't really have enough information to review it. Or maybe we can say it is an incomplete review. I don't know. I just don't want to be like, because you never know. Maybe they're going to be the next Doodles, and maybe this, like, the guy has an amazing vision. Assuming it's a guy, or it could be a woman. Anyway, this person has an amazing vision, and they might do something amazingly great, but just hasn't been communicated well on the website. And if you just talk to them, it's like, it's amazing. I don't know. I know that from this website, I'm like, I mean, I wouldn't actually, like, unless I was strongly recommended that I must look into this project, I probably wouldn't bother even looking into this project based on this website. That's where I'm at, and that's my evaluation, and I could be completely wrong. So it's, it's a very incomplete review. So thank you very much for dialing in. I'll put some music back on to finish. And I'm glad people are still listening to this and finding it useful. Feel free to tell your friends about this live stream. So They know that, you know, they can come in and ask questions and ask me to trash a project for them, or sometimes tell them that it's an amazing project. Who knows? And yeah, thank you for your attention, whether you're listening now or you're listening later. Yeah, see you tomorrow for another review of the market. Have a wonderful day, wonderful Wednesday. Yeah, it's Wednesday, and enjoy the rest of your week. Take care.